Hello, everyone, and welcome to our annual town meeting review. I'm Town Administrator Evan Broussard.
I'm William Blake, Assistant Town Administrator.
This is our annual review where we go line by line through our annual town meeting warrant and let you know what it's all about. Town meeting this year is May 12th at 7 p.m. at the high school. So without further ado, Will, do you want to kick us off and start with Article 1?
Article 1 is to see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate from free cash $15,000 to the fire department retirement account.
Article 2 transfers $300,000 from free cash into our OPEB trust account. OPEB stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits and funds all of the retiree benefits for folks that have worked for either the towns or the schools. This is a new approach that we are taking this year. We had funded an OPEB trust study and found out that this will save us about $4 million over the next 10 years.
Article 3 is to see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate a sum of money from free cash to various accounts in the general fund to balance the current fiscal year. Last year, there was about 4 transfers in this article. This year, we only have one, $245,000 from free cash to the snow and ice account.
Thanks, Will. And I think it's important to note on that particular article that is one of the only places in a municipal budget where you can deficit spend. So we have already budgeted some snow and ice money, and this is the money that's over and above what we thought we may use in a current fiscal year.
Very good.
All right, Will, and that concludes consent agenda number 1.
Correct. And so consent agenda number 2 encompasses Articles 4 through 14, and those will affect the next fiscal year, starting on July 1st.
Great. Article 4 is to hear reports of town officers. Town meeting no longer hears reports directly from town officers, but rather reviews the report that is produced by the town each year. That report is available in written form, printed out, and there are some copies available at town meeting, as well as at the municipal center, or you can go onto our website at www.grafton-ma.gov and look for the annual report there.
Article 5 seeks to reappoint William Cuke to a 3-year term as a trustee of the Nelson Park Memorial Library and Building Fund.
Article 6 accepts $785,780.45 from the state of Massachusetts for Chapter 90 funds. Chapter 90 is what we use to fund road and sidewalk projects. Article 8 is our annual revolving account article. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, the town needs to redo this section of its bylaw each and every year to authorize the individual revolving accounts. There's a bunch of them, so I would recommend jumping onto the website and checking them out for yourself.
Article 9 is an annual article authorizing the Select Board to request funding and transportation services from the Worcester Regional Transit Authority for the upcoming fiscal year. The WRTA provides bus services for the Council on Aging, elderly bus services in the town in general.
Article 10 is a biannual, meaning we accept it every 2 years, article where we accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 56, to exempt certain persons from their real estate tax, namely people that are enlisted in the Massachusetts National Guard or are reservists.
Similar to Article 10, Article 11 is another real estate exemption. This one is Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5C and a half, providing for an additional real estate exemption for certain individuals, including blind people, veterans, or surviving spouses. This is another article that we accept every 2 years.
Article 12 deals with the Community Preservation Act. This is an annual article in which we set the limits for each account and revenues therein. Those 4 areas of the CPA that are funded through this process are historical, affordable, housing, open space, and the budgeted reserve, which can be used to augment any of the remaining accounts. And again, that has about 5 different lines. So if you want to check that out, head over to the website.
Article 13 is another community preservation article. It seeks to appropriate $57,500 from the Community Preservation Open Space Reserve for the 17th of 20 interest and principal payments on the bond for the Pell Farms property.
Great. Similar to that, Article 14 for $73,075 is transferred from the Community Preservation Historic Reserve. It's the 11th of 20 payments for the Grafton Townhouse. So getting in there on that one too.
Yep.
Okay.
Article 15, this is the big one, the operational budget for FY26. This year's budget, as written in the warrant, is $79,867,347. This represents a balanced budget due to diligent work from Mr. Broussard, all the town employees, and the school department.
Yeah, we worked with Dr. Cummings and the school committee quite a lot to try to get ourselves to a balanced budget. I do think it's important to note that I do plan on offering an amendment on the floor of town meeting to change the revenue numbers and allocate more money towards the schools. That is based on the addition of additional Chapter 70 funds from the state. Right now, they're projected at $150 per student. So that does mean that the schools will have more revenue that we will need to apply towards their current fiscal 26 balance.
Excellent.
Article 16 is our annual capital budget. This year, we're looking to fund $2,764,188 worth of capital upgrades, everything for a new storage building for the cemetery department to a new playground on Ferry Street. I do want to note that $2,700,000 number will change. It will actually be decreasing as we'll offer an amendment on town meeting floor to remove one of the lease payments that we had listed here originally.
Article 17 is the fiscal year 2026 Sewer Enterprise Fund operating budget. This year, the total operational budget is $3,803,328. It's worth noting that the sewer department is an enterprise fund, so this uses no property tax dollars. It is all fee-for-service.
Article 18 is our annual funding for the cable studio and Grafton Community Television. This year's budget is $404,500, which is the same as it was last year. And again, it is worth noting that this is done via the cable fees that you pay when you subscribe to cable and not from your tax dollars.
Article 19 covers Grafton's share of the operating budget for the Blackstone Valley Vocational School. This year's assessment is $1,655,606. Article
20 is another article that was proposed by Blackstone Valley Tech. They are seeking to create a stabilization account for future capital expenditures, such as roofs or other building improvements.
It's worth noting that this article seeks no fiscal appropriation. This is just establishing the account so in the future they can add money and use it for any projects they may need.
Correct. Good point.
Article 21 seeks to accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half. This allows the town to establish enterprise funds. This one would seek to establish a waste management enterprise fund effective in fiscal year 2027. So similar to the sewer department, which is all fee-for-service, this would move the town of Grafton's solid waste budget into an enterprise fund and free up roughly $600,000 in the general fund.
Correct. Article 22 transfers $1 million from the sewer fund reserve for betterments account into a minor sewer extension account. And this is to perform some work to replace a 35-year-old component of the sewer system to modern equipment that should help us maintain efficient use in the coming years.
Excellent. And similarly, Article 23 is a transfer of $200,000 from the sewer retained earnings account to the major equipment account to replace a component of the phosphorus removal system that has reached the end of its 10-year lifespan.
Right. I do think it's important to note that both Article 22 and 23 are funded through the enterprise fund of the sewer department.
Correct.
Good. All right, on to Article 24. Article 24 accepts the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 32, Section 42B and a half to allow call firefighters to be credited with full-time service. Essentially what this does is if you're a call firefighter in the town of Grafton, and then you move on to, say, be a full-timer in the town of Westboro, you can actually go back to the Worcester County Retirement Board and buy back your time from when you were a call person here in the town of Grafton. And I think that's a really great program, and it really does help us boost our engagement on people that are looking to get into the fire service.
Excellent. Article 25 seeks to approve $1.4 million of borrowing for the Grafton Fire Department to replace Engine 2. The current expected delivery date of the new fire truck is roughly 48 months.
Right. And I think it's important to note, Will, that that is a replacement of a 2012 Pierce Sabre. It has been around for quite a long time and has seen plenty of use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time. Article 26 seeks to authorize the Select Board to seek a home rule petition with the Massachusetts General Legislature to ban eSCARs for use in the town of Grafton. eSCARs are second-generation anticoagulant rodenticides. These rodenticides have been found to bioaccumulate in mice and rats and other vermin that may eat it, which then impacts our birds of prey and other predators that may feed on those animals. So we're looking to ban those altogether in the town of Grafton. I would like to point out that this is likely going to be something that is banned through your pesticide service and not necessarily something that you would get off of the shelf at, say, Home Depot or something.
Article 27 is a vote to accept the roadways, associated utilities, and easements of Pepperbush Court and High Point Drive in the High Point Estate subdivision. You'll notice in the warrant that this is actually on there twice, once as Article 27 and once as a citizen's petition for Article 38. Article 38 was submitted by the developer, as is required under the Grafton Road acceptance process, but the current language is not actionable. So with that in mind, the Select Board submitted this language to make sure that it would be put before the town meeting for acceptance.
Article 28 is similar in that it deals with that same subdivision, High Points Estates. And it is the acceptance of roughly 34.4 acres of open space. This was also part of that citizen's petition as Article 38, but as Will said, that's not actionable. So the Select Board put this on the warrant of their own volition.
Correct. And with Article 38, you'll notice that it includes language to check attachments. Those will be in the warrant as Appendix D.
Great.
Article 29 is a vote to amend Section 1.3.3.3 and 1.3.3.4 under site plan review of Section 1 of the Grafton zoning bylaws. Essentially, what this does is the change will correctly align with the complete list of site plan review requirements and the waiver request form for the site plan review applications.
Great. Article 30 is another submission from the Planning Board. This is to see if the town will vote to amend Section 1.3.3 entitled Site Plan Review and Section 1.5.8 entitled Period of Validity of Section 1 in the Grafton zoning bylaw as detailed in the language that you'll find in the warrant, and also seeks to authorize other non-substantive changes.
Article 31 seeks to amend Section 12 entitled Village and Neighborhood Mixed Use of the Grafton zoning bylaw. Essentially, what this change does is it brings Section 12.3.6 in line with Section 12.6.1 to make the whole bylaw consistent with itself.
Article 32 is to see if the town will vote to amend Section 13 entitled North Grafton Transit Village Overlay District of the Grafton zoning bylaw. Essentially, that section deals with our 40R district in the town, and this will bring us into compliance with changes to the state law.
Article 33, also submitted by the Planning Board, seeks to amend Section 2, which is the definition section of the Grafton zoning bylaw, to amend the definition of a tool shed.
Article 34 seeks to amend Section 5.8 of the Grafton zoning bylaw entitled Wireless Communications Facilities. This article would clarify the process of modifying wireless communication facilities through Section 5.8. Notably, these amendments modernize the bylaws to better conform with current technical standards and state laws as specified during the permit submission requirements for specially defined minor modifications. Well, before we move too far past this, I do want to note that Articles 29 through 34 are all from the Planning Board. They all have quite a bit of text and explanation. So I would recommend that folks go on the website if they're interested in seeing the detail of those articles.
Correct. And the complete Planning Board report can be found under the Town Meeting tab located on the homepage of the website. Article 35 seeks to appropriate $292,500 from the FY 2026 Community Preservation Budgeted Reserve for the purpose of replacing the Ferry Street Playground, which is currently about 24 years old.
Article 36 seeks to appropriate $70,000 from the budgeted reserve of CPC for preservation work done at the Congregational Church of Grafton. It's important to note that the town meeting has approved funds from CPA previously for this project. However, since the original appropriation, the scope of work has expanded, and therefore CPC is looking for additional funds. It's also important to note that the church is providing $25,000 as part of that work.
Excellent. Article 37 is the last article from the Community Preservation Committee. This is an annual article and is seeking to transfer $84,220 from the Community Preservation Affordable Housing Reserve account to the Grafton Affordable Housing Trust.
Article 38 will be passed over.
Article 39 is a citizen's petition which seeks to authorize the Select Board to petition the General Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to enact special legislature to establish a means-tested senior citizen property exemption. As this is a citizen's petition, the petitioner will be at town meeting and can speak further to the intent and scope of this article.
All right, Will. Well, that concludes our annual review of the spring town meeting. Again, this town meeting will be held Monday, May 12th, 2025 at 7 p.m. at Grafton High School. And hope to see you there.
Yeah, there's some good stuff on the warrant this year, and it's sure to be a good time for anybody who comes out.
Great. See you there.